What's good, y'all? Welcome to the Black Male Reader. We're back again, where I review and recommend books for you that you may like, you may enjoy. If you haven't already, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as you know, like we did last month, we do a book review for the month. So these are the books that I read for the month of March. Since it's April, I go back a month. So without further ado, let's just go ahead on and get into it. The first book that I read was The Perennial Seller by Ryan Holiday. And as you can see, I took notes. I don't want to just be up here spitting a bunch of empty nothing. So the first book I read was The Perennial Seller by Ryan Holiday. I think it was a pretty good book. What I liked about it was it focused on building a legacy type of book, or building a classic, or not just a book, but any type of product. Building something that is a classic, something that stands the test of time, something that's not really trendy, but it's something that, is just something that when people think about it, it's just automatic, like you know it. For example, Star Wars, whether you love it or hate it, most people regard Star Wars as a classic. The movie The Godfather, things of that nature. Coca-Cola. Just classic, timeless things that no matter what happens, they stand the test of time. Now, granted, they messed up Star Wars, in my opinion, once they started doing too much, but the original Star Wars movie itself is definitely regarded as a classic. The first Godfather movie, and not just movies, you also have albums, people that made timeless albums, like Thriller. Thriller still sounds amazing today. Things that are timeless, things that somebody put their all into, and you can just tell based on the sound quality, just everything about it. So The Perennial Seller basically tells you what you can do in order to create that type of classical whatever. The next book I read was Onward by Howard Schultz, which was the CEO of Starbucks for a good many years. I like that book a lot. I thought it was really good. It basically talks about how Howard decided to come back after he stepped down as CEO and basically take the reins and bring it from the recession to Starbucks being even better than it was prior to the recession, damaging American businesses worldwide. It is obviously a very biased book because it was written by Howard Schultz, so there's a lot of things in there. We basically get a track on his mind and how he viewed all of those events, but it's definitely not something that's objective. It's definitely not a book that's without bias. So if you're looking to do like a case report or something on Starbucks, then that would be a good book to read, to learn about it from Howard Schultz's position. But it's not objective, and it's very biased, and it's just him talking about what he did in his thought process as far as making decisions. So I would definitely recommend it. I enjoyed that book a lot. Anybody that's looking to be an entrepreneur, anybody that's looking to overcome obstacles or run into the fires, I think you would enjoy that book. The next book I read was The Art of Thinking in Systems by Schuster. This book was pretty good. It was super short, straightforward. It basically just talks about what systems are and how we interact with systems every day, and just basically teaching you how to think in systems in order to maneuver around all of the systems that we have in place. You have an ecosystem, you have a judicial system, you have an education system. There's so many different types of systems, and when you understand how systems work, then you can kind of cut down a lot of confusion and go straight to the source to get what you need resolved. So that was definitely a pretty good book. Like I said, very straightforward, practical, and I'll be using that word a lot for the next two books as well, practical. The next book I read was, Mismanagement, by Ed Butowsky. And this book, it was pretty good. I can't really say anything bad about it. I didn't have any complaints, other than the fact that it was like a long sales pitch. So basically, the purpose of this book is for the author to tell you about a wealth management program that he created in order to hold asset managers accountable, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but a lot of the book focused on him building his credibility and telling you who he was And then the other part of the book was him telling you about how good his product was. And in between that, he definitely does drop a lot of good information, a lot of good gems as far as finance, building a portfolio, what type of assets you want to own. So from that perspective, he did give a lot of practical advice. So I would definitely say it's worth the listen or worth the read, but you just have to understand that it is a long sales pitch, and he is trying to tell you about who he is so he can get you to look into his product. And finally, the last book that I read last year was How to Grow in Management by James Black. Really good book. It was written in the 1950s, so it's extremely dated. I know one chapter he was talking about having your wife call your manager's wife or your co-worker's wife so they can set up dinner. That's super dated. I don't think people's wives call each other like secretaries and set up dinners in our era. But overall, it was an extremely practical book. There was things that I looked and I read in that book, and I instantly was able to use those skills. There's a bunch of little quizzes in there that you can take to rate yourself, and the best thing about the book is it tells you what to do, and it's not just mumbo jumbo or fluff or things that you might want to hear. It's actual practical, tangible advice, things that you can do, which is super interesting because, like I said, it was written in the 50s. So there's a lot of talk about unions and things of that nature, but overall, amazing book. I would definitely recommend this one as well. Really, I recommend all of the books that I read last month. If I had to say one probably you can skip, it would be the book by Ed Butowsky, and I hope he doesn't take it personally, but like I said, it's just a sales pitch. If he ever does see this video, who knows. But you know, there was a lot of good information in there, but overall, like I said, it was just a sales pitch. So you know, if you can get past that and just enjoy the content for what it is, then yeah, it's a great book with a lot of practical advice that you can use to better yourself. A good history lesson in there as well. I would say read it, but then, like I said, you just gotta understand that it is a sales pitch and you gotta be ready for it. So those were the books that I read last month. Let me know if there's any books you think I should read this month. Let me know if there's any books you want me to do a review on. We can get into it. We can get it done. Definitely looking to get some more feedback, so let me know what you guys want me to go over and talk about, and I'll be more than happy to do that. All right? Holla.